Turmeric? I barely know a Rick.
Hey! Boo-boo.
We're gonna make some jam today. We are at the state fair. Not the state fair. We're at the farmer's market.
But it's pretty fair out.
It is so lovely out, it's true. We're gonna go see what they have and figure out what kind of jam to make. Let's go! Whee!
God, I love that. They have succulents in teapots.
I don't think you can make succulent jam, but we definitely should. This one has marbles.
That makes one of us. Come on, let's get some fruit.
Right.
Oh, they have sugar pumpkins.
I should get some.
Look at this! Hydroponic lettuces.
This is good information for my class. This exists.
Apple? I don't know how to make apple. Not apple. Oh my god. Come on. Oh, tomato jam is actually wonderful.
I don't even like tomatoes.
Tomato jam doesn't taste like tomatoes, you silly woman. But I could definitely go for some German pastry. Okay, so my jam when it comes to jam making, nothing, no, not even a chuckle for that. I really usually go for like peaches or berries or something, but it's November, so we don't have those. But I did just find a recipe for pumpkin jam, and we were really looking at those sugar pumpkins anyway, so why don't we go for it?
Are they good? Real good.
Oh yeah? Yeah, okay. Pumpkin? Yeah?
Pumpkin, yeah. Maybe.
Being your horticulture student, the sweet potatoes at Covington, this is a variety that was actually developed at NC State.
Oh, neat.
Our biggest crops are strawberries and peaches and tomatoes. We just got through planting strawberries for the next season because, of course, they're going to be ready in the spring, so you got to plant them now. Peaches, we're pruning those twice a year. We'll prune them in the summer and in the winter.
Sounds great. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much.
Get that one because it has a stumpy top, and I feel like the others make fun of it.
I do know this about pumpkins. If you cut them with longer stems, they don't go bad as quickly. Especially with little pumpkins, it's good to have some stem where they won't go bad.
Okay, well, we'll cook that one today.
Yeah, it's not like we need it to be good in a month.
Big old bag full of pumpkins.
Yeehaw, yeehaw, yeehaw.
Scoop that pumpkin, scoop it good. Scoop that pumpkin like you should. Pumpkins are like life. They're really hard, and
There's just a little tiny bit of good stuff in there. And
there's also a lot of guts.
You did this on purpose. You made me cut the first one so that you could figure out what I'm doing wrong and stare at me, just so that you look better when you do it later.
Well, you've done that to me for our whole lives.
Well, that's what being a big sister is. I'm the little sister, though. I'm supposed to.
Not anymore, you're not. You're 6 feet tall. Don't cross the line of death.
Don't tell me what to do.
All right, fine. Chop your hand off. See if I care. I've always wanted a one-handed sister. I have this thing that's good for
No.
stabbing your sisters.
Hey now. Nothing is good for stabbing your sisters. Stabbing your sisters is wrong.
Hey!
I tell myself every day.
Are you not using a cutting board, you wild animal?
You didn't give me one. I asked for another cutting board.
I got you another cutting
No, you
board.
didn't.
I did.
You thought about it. She thinks about being nice to me all the time.
I practically raised her, and this is what I get. Sass.
I'm only sassy because you practically raised me. It's your own fault. You did it to yourself.
I lost my hat. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. That feels like just driving an axe through the skulls of my enemies. You come into my house on this, the day of my daughter's wedding. The power!
Consent!
You're weak. You will not survive the winter. Hey babe, where's the hatchet? Hatchet? I barely know it!
Fight me.
Another way that pumpkins are like people is that they're much easier to break if you come at them from the side. There's a squillion different kinds of pumpkins.
These that we're using are sweet pie pumpkins, which are sweet and for pie.
They're not very little.
But they're just a little.
They have a higher sugar content and a lower water content than
Your
jack-o'-lantern
everyday
pumpkins.
We currently have quite a stock of pumpkins.
The rest of them are just decorative and they're all on my porch. Once you have your pumpkin chopped up, which somebody hasn't quite finished with yet, but that's fine, you're going to take a steamer basket and you're going to place it in the bottom of a large pot of water and you are going to steam your pumpkin chunks until they are soft. It's going to take like half an hour. The recipe doesn't really call for this, but I'm just such a mad lad. I'm going to put a little salt on our pumpkin.
Ooh. How's it going over there, mad lad?
Absolutely wild. Put your chunks in the chunk.
Don't tell me what to do with my chunks.
We've got the rest of our ingredients here. We're making a double batch because we want a double batch. Gosh darn it. The recipe calls for 1 1/3 cup of sugar. We've gone with brown sugar. We have 2 2/3 cup of that. Recipe calls for a tablespoon of lemon juice. We've used 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. 2 tablespoons of orange juice. So we've gone with 4 tablespoons of orange juice. And a teaspoon of vanilla.
We're also adding a little bit of rosemary, which is not actually in the recipe, and a little bit of nutmeg. I want some thimbles.
We don't have thimbles, just suffer.
So this rosemary is this lovely little happy bush right here, and we're keeping it inside until spring, at which point we'll probably plant it outside in the garden.
We might decorate it for Christmas as well. Wow, Jasmine, you're doing a really great job.
Thanks.
So Jasmine, do you know why the orange juice and lemon juice are such an important part of this recipe?
Yes, but they might not.
Yes.
Let's go.
Low oxygen, high pH environments are conducive for the botulism toxin, which is really bad. So whenever you make jam, you need to make sure that the pH of your mixture is low enough that it will kill botulism toxin before it kills you. So especially when you're making jam out of vegetables, sometimes the recipe will call for some acid. Usually that comes in the form of lemon juice or some other kind of citrus. Brick biscuits. Okay, but the important point is that our pumpkin is soft and done.
Now we're going to get the skin off.
It's really hard to skin gourds while they're still raw, but once they are cooked and soft, the skin comes right off. Easy. Also, just like humans.
This is the spooky edition. She's not actually a murderer. Yet. Happy Halloween, everyone.
It is time to blend it!
Splendo!
Alright, so we have
Pumpkin, 4 cups. So well pureed.
really pretty.
It's pretty pretty, you guys. Gross. Give me that. Bloop! That was a lot of sugar. How much sugar?
2 2/3 cup.
Jasmine, thanks
Good
for
stuff.
asking. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice.
4 tablespoons of orange juice.
Bloop! Some nutmeg. Also, 2 happy little sprigs of rosemary.
And a strong bloop of vanilla bean paste. When was the last time you ate anything and you thought to yourself, this is way too vanilla-y? Never happened. You can keep putting vanilla in stuff and it only gets better.
Good hot.
And now we're going to simmer this until it reaches the desired consistency.
Which is the good consistency.
Which is a jam consistency.
It's gorgeous. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Art. I'm really glad we went with brown sugar. Adds a whole other dimension of flavor. And I think the rosemary is going to be a good touch too.
Yeah, you can't taste it yet, but...
But we'll get there. Alright, so it has cooked quite a bit, and now we've turned the heat off, and it's getting pretty thick. Yoink that out there. Oh, that's quite hot.
Thanks. So the next step in the process is to sterilize our jars, which we do. That is accomplished by boiling them in this water. You don't want the jars to touch the bottom of the pot because the direct heat could break the glass.
So you put this little rack in the bottom of the kettle. So there's that, and that's going to keep our jars nice and off of the bottom of the pot. We put the jars in and the rings, but we don't put the tops in because all that has your good sticky stuff that you want to continue to be sticky. And if you boil it, it'll fall off. So you're going to add all your jars and all your rings and bring the water up to a boil. These cans are now boiling hot, so we're not going to touch them with our little fingers. We have this can grabbing tool that we will use to fish them out of the water. And those go straight onto the towel. We have a clean dish towel over here. And that is where we are going to be setting all our implements to make sure they stay clean, and also to avoid heat shock to the glass, because if you set the glass jars down straight onto the cold counter, then the heat shock could crack them.
So Beverly, why is it so important that everything is nice and sanitary?
It's really important that we minimize contamination because these are supposed to stay good on the shelf at room temperature for a year. And if there are any germs, that won't happen. They'll get real nasty in there. They will get really gross. So this water is barely, not quite boiling, nearly boiling, still very hot. And so now is the time that we are going to add our lids, because we do want to sanitize these, but we don't want to melt them. So those are going to be in here getting hot and sanitary while we fill our jars. And it's very important that from now on until our jars are closed, that at no point are we going to touch the insides of these lids with our fingers. All right, while that's happening, let's fill our jam jars. Woo! We have this special funnel that is optimized for fitting into cans.
And we have this special jam that is delicious.
Optimized for being delicious. And you want to leave between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch of headway at the top of the jar. And while you do that, I am going to go get a lid, not touching the inside. Set it right there. And just loosely fasten this, because you need air to be able to escape during the canning process. That's how you create your vacuum seal. If you do get a little bit on one of the rims of your jars, wipe it off very carefully with a clean paper towel. And you're going to very carefully set your cans in the kettle to boil. You're going to leave those to boil for 10 minutes. When your 10 minutes is up, you will once again very carefully evacuate your hot jam using your can tongs to a clean towel.
So now that we've gotten them out, what we're going to do is cover them with another towel and leave them be for 12 to 24 hours. At that time, the lids should not still pop. If they pop, then they're not good to eat, so don't.
And as you can see, your finished product will be a beautiful, spreadable, buttery consistency.
That
And
looks amazing.
It does look amazing. It's wonderful on toast, or you could take it like a shot, honestly.
Don't forget there are lots of other great parts of the pumpkin. We're saving our seeds in some salt to roast later, and we also had a little bit of leftover puree and we made some great soup. Not bad, huh? I don't think so. Cheers, my dear. Cheers. Perhaps we should do a low light reel.
In my life, everything is the low light reel.
Especially me.
Guts and brains and pumpkin gore. Guts and brains and guts and brains and guts and brains and...
Ooh, baby, baby.
Do you know that's worth? Ooh, pumpkins are in the pot. Sorry.
You're not trying hard enough.
I'm not trying at all. Trying is for peasants.
Succeeding is for
Queens.
queens.